Good guy, that Mike Garafolo.
Tell you, guy, that would never happen to this guy, Mike Garafolo from the NFL Network, because unlike Terry Pegula, Mike knows how to use spell check. You know how to use spell check, Mike. Come on.
It got me twice today. I had BIKKS instead of Bills. It was Bix. I had another one as well, too. So, yeah, it happens.
It happens. It happens to the best of us. Sean McDermott, why now, Mike? Why today?
Just not getting over the hump with Josh Allen. And this is a lot of chatter from folks who like to talk about football and like to have opinions and takes and all these things. And it turned out it's the take of Terry Pegula as well, that he just felt like they're in the prime of Josh Allen's career. It's not going to last forever. Could last for a while, certainly. But you want to capitalize on it. You see what the Chiefs have done with Patrick Mahomes. And you see what other quarterbacks have done, Tom Brady being one of them. Like, you feel like you've got this guy. You've got this legendary guy. And you're just not even getting to the Super Bowl. Sean McDermott's success is unbelievable compared to what Buffalo had before he got there. 8 of 9 years getting to the postseason. And the way that they've lost some tight games, some questionable calls. You go back to that 4th down against the Chiefs. I remember being at the NFL Replay Center and those guys saying the one replay that we wish we could have reversed is that one because we felt like he got a 1st down, but we just didn't have an angle to be able to do that. So there's been some heartbreaking losses. It's not like they've gotten blown out in the playoffs. And then you go to that catch, no catch ruling the other day, which I do think was the right call in the end. But it didn't matter to Terry Pegula how close it was. It was the fact that Sean McDermott just wasn't getting over them. In game situation decisions, I believe, as well. The turnover late in the first half for Josh Allen when they gave Denver another 3 points right there. I think there have been those moments that I think have irked Terry Pegula, and in the end, he decides it's great what Sean McDermott has done. Admirable, I would say, as well. Which, frankly, I like that word in the first place. It should have been stronger than that. It wasn't just admirable. He did a really good job. Did almost a great job, I guess you could say. But in the end, Terry Pegula deciding not good enough moves on from Sean McDermott.
And then maybe even more intriguing than the timing of the McDermott firing is the fact, Mike, that GM Brandon Beane not only keeps his job, he is promoted to president of football operations. So what does it say about this organization sticking with Beane, promoting him, even though a lot of Bills Mafia, Mike, would blame Beane for the fact that, you know, Josh Allen didn't have a lot of guys to throw to on the weekend?
I think Brandon Beane, the wide receiver core over the last couple of years, they've tried to make that stronger. They let Stephon Diggs go. Now, Stephon Diggs comes with more than just what he does on the field. It may have been time. It just sometimes is time for Stephon Diggs to move on. When he gets somewhere, it's great, and then all of a sudden, maybe towards the end, not so great. So I know what Beane has done. I know he wished he could have done better in that area, but I still think it's a tremendously talented roster, and I think he's a really good general manager. Now, Terry Pegula thinks even more than that by putting him in charge of football operations as well. That means coaching staff's going to report to him, strength staff, the training staff. I mean, a lot of these things in the building that sometimes fall under the head coach. We just had this with John Harbaugh and the Giants. Usually that stuff falls under the general manager. Harbaugh was able to get more of that stuff in his jurisdiction. So in this case, and Pegula, I talked to somebody in the building today that said Terry Pegula has done this before. When someone is being criticized or called out, Pegula will sometimes give that person a promotion or a new title to say, no, this is my guy. This is who I have my faith in, to sort of put that chatter at bay. So that could be part of what happened here. I also think it was the flow of things with Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane inside the building, and Pegula saying, no, I want this thing more siloed. I feel like that's the way it's got to be to have success in the NFL. Look, it depends on the head coach, and we're going to talk in a second about some potential candidates here. If you're going to try to pry a big name there, if you're going to say, theoretically, Mike Tomlin, I'm just going to throw that name out there. Mike Tomlin's going to come in and say, no, I want control over this and that. So you know which way this is going, because that power now resides with Brandon Beane, who now has to chart forward and find himself a head coach that's going to fit in this setup.
You made some excellent points there, and this job, you'd have to think, immediately becomes the most attractive job opening out there, Mike. So if we're not going to have big names that we are familiar with, who would you expect will be getting an interview for this position?
It certainly, if it's not at the top of the list because of Josh Allen, it's going to be near the top of the list for a lot of candidates right now, particularly when you've got the Arizonas and the Vegases of the world. This one is one where the owner is committed to winning. You've also got a new stadium as well. And again, you've got Josh Allen. So the three candidates that were thrown out there immediately were Brian Daboll, Joe Brady, who's the offensive coordinator there, Brian Daboll, a predecessor, a couple of offensive coordinators before him, and Davis Webb, who is a close friend with the Broncos now, but a close friend of Josh Allen's. Now, that would be a leap for Davis Webb at this point, and I'm not sure that you want to necessarily hire a head coach who's the quarterback's best friend just because of that. And you've got a head coach or a candidate in the building right now in Joe Brady, a guy that's being interviewed elsewhere, and a guy that is highly thought of for the way that he runs the offense, sort of like a head coach would run an entire team. So Brady's certainly going to have a strong case here to be the head coach. I do know that Beane communicated to folks inside the building that this wasn't going to be a full tear down. This was just going to be somebody getting in with a fresh voice, new leadership within the structure of what they've done. So to me, that says you don't want to change the offense drastically. You don't want to fire a lot of coaches that are already on staff, even on the defensive side of the ball, potentially as well. So that's why those names that I just mentioned for continuity would make the most sense. Now, look, you've got to fulfill the Rooney Rule. You've got to interview at least a couple of minorities. So there'll be other coaches that will be part of the process. But if those three names or two of those three names wind up being in the final run here, I certainly wouldn't be surprised, Jay.
Only 7 head coaching vacancies to fill, Mike. So, you know, I mean, if you thought your offseason was coming soon, it feels like it's going to – I feels like this year's just going to stretch longer for you, pal.
There is no offseason. I sort of look at April, from the beginning of April up until right before the draft. That's our sweet spot where we finally get to take a deep breath. But, Jay, it's the best sport in our minds here in America. I know hockey's huge up there, but I know you're into NFL football as well and Canadian football as well. So people love it. People love the drama. And there's going to be – there already is, and there's going to be even more to come, so we're excited for it.